Well, welcome to your Prosperity Conscious Masterclass. I'm Crystal Crawford. I'm a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness. If I haven't met you before, I have met a lot of you that are on with me today before, and I'm very, very grateful for you. I'm very grateful that we're here today. Paula is apparently making a funny face, and so this is my official LOL. um, I'm actually so excited about this creation, this conversation. What if you stay with me the whole time? At the very end, I'm going to offer you something for being on live that nobody else is going to get as a promotion towards what's next. So obviously you're invited to something that's next. And this is a conversation to instigate that and to kickstart some ideas and some possibilities in your world to see if what's next would be fun for you. But since you're live, you're going to be getting something at the very end if you stay with me. And so anyway, just a surprise, just because it's fun. Okay, so I have been reading this book. I've been doing a lot of things. So in the last 90 days, I've been doing energy pulls every single day with a bunch of you, actually, and a bunch of other people. And my world is completely and dynamically different. And in fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who comes to my bars exchanges, and she has a friend who friended me on Facebook. Anyway, this person that she was telling me about, I don't know, but apparently this person follows me on Facebook. And even she was saying, oh my God, Crystal's really changed. And everybody that I know that's been doing these energy pulls is dynamically different. And so we're rounding the 90-day mark, and I'm like, I actually don't want to stop with this daily practice of creation, which is what an energy pull every day is. And so what can I create that would be really fun? And there's been this principle and thing that's been rolling through my world for quite some time, actually probably since I was born, that is now making a resurgence in my world. This awareness and knowing of what choosing to practice something creates. Now, I grew up playing the piano. You may have heard recently, I've been talking about it a lot. The piano's been showing up everywhere. And I am reading your questions, by the way, and I will get to them. I would not be able to play the piano today if I didn't spend hours and hours and hours practicing how to play the piano. So the piano is 88 keys of possibility. It's got however many white keys and however many black keys. And if you don't know anything about a piano, if you don't speak piano, the language of piano, then you could look at those however many keys, and really what it's going to be is Greek to you. You're like not going to know what to do with those keys. You can sit down and plunk them, and you can start to play with them and get awareness of this sound makes that sound, and if you add this sound, it makes that sound, and you can put these sounds together and that makes this thing, and that will give you awareness, which you can then use to teach yourself. And there's going to be a lot of other things that you won't even really know to teach yourself until somebody shows you, or you stumble on a YouTube video, or you make the demand of yourself that you learn how to do this thing. There's all kinds of technique that actually enables your fingers to glide over the things. And there's like each of your fingers can move individually. Did you know that? But most piano teachers actually teach your fingers to move as a group, which makes scales really difficult. So there's all these little skills that as you practice them, make you a craftsman of that thing, right? Now I'm now a craftsman of the piano, and I play it in my way, and I play it in the way that comes out of me. But I'm a craftsman of crystal style playing. It's gonna be a new thing. Write a book. I keep saying I'm going to write a book. Oh, talk about it. So this awareness of the fact that I actually know what it is to practice something and become a craftsman of it has started to filter into everything that I'm doing and choosing lately. And around December of this last year, I made a demand in my world that my money reality dynamically change. Now, December of last year is not that far away. Like it was, we're in June right now, so it was 6 months ago. I had created a lot up to that point. Like I'd been able to travel the world. I became a certified facilitator. I'd gone to Maestro. I moved to Vancouver. Like I did a lot of the things that I guess a lot of normal people would have seen as hard or whatever. I did them. And I did them with a lot of points of view still in place that money is hard, money takes time, money comes through directly from you do A, plus B and you get C, and that's how it creates money. Like I created quite a bit with quite a few limiting points of view. But when it got to December of last year, I had created myself as cash poor in that moment. And I'd been cash poor for a month or two, and it was really grating on me. It was starting to really get on my nerves. And I had a moment where I realized that I couldn't create the financial future that I desired to create with just going hand to mouth, using the tools to solve my problem so that I could get to the next class. Using the tools to solve my problem so that I could pay my next bill. Using the tools to solve my problem to pay my next rent check. I actually, if I wanted the future that I desired, had to radically change, do something completely other, turn in a totally different direction with money to have the future that I desired. Because the future I desired had this ongoing influx of cash. The future I desired had money to create and buy major corporations, finance major productions, bail out third world countries. Now, maybe none of those specifics, but that's the energy of the future that I desire to have. The future I desire to have wasn't just getting enough money to get to the next thing and then have to start over again, and then getting enough money to get to the next thing and then have to start over again. There wasn't anything sustainable about that model. And it was the model that I'd lived my life from. I knew how to do it really well. I'd gotten really, really strong and practiced at surviving. So December of last year, I was like, the only thing that I haven't chosen in everything that Gary Douglas has told us to do to change our money reality is actually choose to do the How to Become Money workbook for 100 times. And he says to do it every 2 weeks. And I was like, well, fuck that. I'm going to do it every week, and I'm going to change this shit. So I started with the free How to Become Money workbook, and a lot of you guys were on that. And then I started doing it every single week with a group of people. Well, 12 weeks later, I was different. But I still hadn't created much cash. Maybe not 12 weeks later, maybe 8 weeks later. I lose track of time. Anyway, I woke up one morning in February and I was like, this has got to fucking change. And I just changed everything and I started generating cash. Now, this was sort of my path to this. And then I started the energy pulls, and now here we are. And that's kind of the short nutshell version. I want to tell you all of that to tell you that I basically created a different consciousness for myself to create from. I didn't really know that I was doing that, but that's what I did. And so as I've read through this book and I've looked at all the different tools, I'm like, wow, I chose a lot of this without really knowing that's what I was choosing, like no cognitive understanding, just knowing that something had to be radically different. And so what I want to invite us on is a 30-day adventure of choosing to change the consciousness that we're functioning from when it comes to money. Now, because there's a real difference between using the tools to get from problem to problem to problem, or out of problem to out of the next problem to out of the next problem. There's a difference between that mentality and actually choosing just to change and build a different muscle. And there's been a lot of conversations that I've been in recently with Gary and Dane around benevolent capitalism, and at the 7-day that I was just at, where they both talk about the target is not to change this reality. So the target's not to change our financial mindset. It's to create a totally different one. And when you create a totally different one, the old one just atrophies. It just no longer is receiving any energy from you. It's no longer receiving any practice. It's a little bit like forgetting that you ever rode a bike. And now you drive a spaceship and you're like, what bike? I don't even know. It was like, I don't even remember what we did before cell phones, because the cell phone is now such an integral part of my life that was there a life before cell phones? I think not. It's like that, right? So we want to actually strengthen this muscle of creating a totally different consciousness so that we can be totally other with money, so that we can invite it and be with it in our worlds and have it in our worlds in a way that actually creates a sustainable future for us and for the planet. Now, you may not be asking for that. I mean, that can sound really grandiose. That can sound really unrelated to not being able to pay your cable bill next month. But one of the things I've learned is that if you're not asking big enough, if you're not asking in congruence with the energy that you be, and as an infinite being, I don't know if you've ever tried to measure infinite, but you can't. You are very, very big. Your reality is very, very big. And we may have been choosing from the limited menu of this reality where we've got like three happy hour items, and it's like fried pickles and wings and French fries. And those are great items. Like, who doesn't love fried pickles, wings, and French fries? I love those. However, we have this infinite possibility menu over here where we can actually choose anything our body desires. We can actually choose the life that lights us up, the items that light us up. And so it's just like, how do you bridge that? How do you get there? And the answer is you choose. So I wanted to give you all that, and now I want to sort of dive into your questions so that I can sort of weave this energy and give you a sense of what this is, even with the stuff you seem to have coming up. Okay, cool. So Saskia, how can I be an absolute money master and have lots of prosperity consciousness like now? What's the trick? I'm going to give you the answer. You ready? It's very profound. Choice. Now, this is our least favorite response of all time, choice. Nobody really, really, really wants to hear that you just choose it. And what is it that we're just choosing anyway? And the answer is you're choosing to have that reality, no matter what it takes, no matter what you have to do or be, no matter what you have to commit to, who you lose, no matter what, you're having your reality. Now listen, your reality does not have any definition or any form or structure to it. It morphs. It's a mystery wrapped in flaming. I have no language for this. I have this image in it. Like, your reality is as mystical as a dragon and yet just as real. And it changes all the time. And your reality has energies to it. When you see a Lamborghini driving by, when you see that man's body walking by, when you see that house up on the hill, when you go to that resort, like, there's energies that your body prefers. And that's your reality. That's stuff that lights you up and makes being on this planet worthwhile. That's your reality. And that reality requires money. Like, money actually, it's like liquid choice. It gives you more choice. And also generates this energy in your world that you can actually choose anything if you choose to. But what do you choose? I can choose to get this ring. I could choose to get costume jewelry. What do I choose? What's going to create the most right now? You always have total choice. And the trick to actualizing a reality that's not yet here is to function like that now. If it was actually true that you had total choice now, what would you choose? If money wasn't a factor in any of your choices, what would you choose? That's the trick. And I've told this story before. Like, Gary talked a lot in the 7 Day about the castle that he bought in Italy. Gary bought a castle with no money. Here's how he did it. 2 weeks before the castle showed up, he said to somebody, he's like, I want to have a castle in Italy. 2 weeks later, he gets a call. I think I have a castle you might want to see in Italy. He hadn't talked to this person. He hadn't had like a Google Hangout about how he wanted to create a castle in Italy. Somebody just got the energetic memo, called him up and like, I have a property you might want to see in Italy. It's a castle. Oh, gets off the phone. Gary says, Truth, is this the castle I've been asking for? Yes. Okay. Truth, do we go see it now or later? Now. Okay. Walks through the castle, sees everything, asks another question of like, Truth, is this our castle? Yes, no. Yes. Okay. What's it going to take to have it? And that question started the creation of what is now their castle. So he didn't have the money when he chose that. And that's my favorite example of all time so far. Because it's just like, we have this really interesting conclusion that we can't start choosing the things that seem out of our reach until we get somewhere, until we have enough money, until we have our debt paid off, until we is actually killing every single possibility for what you could create as your future, because it's the very thing that you use to stop you from choosing beyond what you've decided is possible. And when you stop choosing beyond, your life stays as small as you've decided it needs to be to match your point of view. So your point of view creates your reality all the time. If you have the point of view that you require the money to live in a big house like this, that you require a certain amount of money to do that, or you require a certain amount of status, then you're correct. And that's what happens. When you go, I don't care what it takes, I'm going to have that, then the universe goes, oh, jolly well, jolly good. We'll see about getting that to you right away, man. We'll see and starts actually supporting what it is that you're choosing. The universe is going to support whatever you choose. If you're choosing to be limited by your point of view that it's too hard, then the universe is like, all right, I'll show you it's too hard. If you're choosing that you have the point of view that you can't because bills, then the universe is like, all right, you can't because bills. Like the universe is this jolly chap that has no point of view about whatever you choose. It's just going to support you. So if that's true, and the universe has no point of view, and you're an infinite being, then why do you have a point of view? What can you begin to choose that chooses beyond the points of view that aren't even yours, that you've been functioning from actively? Trust me, I know a lot about that. That would actually start to give you the total choice that's really true for you. So why do I choose and shit still doesn't show up? Well, I know that when I actually choose, and there's a real difference between a choice and a wish and a hope. There's fantasy land that I've done many, many times. You know, I talk a lot. There's certain things. I'm looking over here because I have my whiteboard over here. And you guys notice, like, I've got lots written on that whiteboard. Well, if you look down at the green text, there's a question there that says, what must I perceive, know, be, and receive that would allow me to blank? And this is one of the questions that Gary gives us in the Money's Not the Problem You Are workbook. What must I perceive, know, be, and receive that would allow me to blank? Okay, so I put in there a month ago, in that blank, I put what must I perceive, know, be, and receive that would allow me to go to benevolent capitalism in Venice with ease, that would allow me to go to Maestro, that would allow me to go to facilitators, and that would allow me to buy furniture with ease. I looked at that 2 days ago, and I've created all of those things with ease in the last month. Now, they've all shown up in totally different ways. Some of them, the money showed up for them. Others of them I got gifted to me. But it all showed up. And when I realized that 2 days ago, I'm like, oh, I have to change my asks. So I say that to tell you that when I actually choose to have something, and when I truly wonder what it's going to take, and I choose to have it, it always shows up in an undetermined amount of time, in an undetermined way, in whatever way it does and however it does. But it always shows up. When I'm wishing and hoping and not really choosing and going, God, it would so be nice if this, you know, the energy, when the energy is of it would be nice, it never shows up because it's not an actual choice. So how do I know if I made the choice and it's not just a wish? Well, is stuff showing up? And I get this would probably be a bigger conversation, maybe something to explore in a little more detail. But that I just look at that, like if what's showing up in my life is not what I'd actually like to have, I have to start looking at what I'm choosing and what I'm not willing to receive or be that is creating that. Because I create my reality. So it's not the tools that are broken. I'm the creator of it. And what's amazing about that is that if I'm the creator of it and what's showing up is not what I want, then I can change that. That's why that's amazing. I'm like, if I'm the creator of this bullshit and I'm amazing at creating bullshit, what else is possible? What am I not choosing? What am I not being? What am I not knowing? And what am I not perceiving that would change this with total ease? What would it take to be at SOP Vancouver in July? Choice. I wonder, what can I practice to become confident in being aware of my truth, my yes, no's? Yeah, I love that question, actually. And the practice of really discovering what's true for you can start with the smallest things. You know, actually, Gary gave us a question a long time ago of what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this thing? And what will my life be like in 5 years if I don't? And you just look at the sense of expansiveness. So light and heavy is not a feeling. If you make it a feeling, you make it solid and you put it in your body and you have to judge it to decide if it's light or heavy. It's a sense. So what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this? And you just get a sense of that. And what will my life be like in 5 years if I don't choose this? And you get a sense of that. Play with that, with everything. Play with it when you're buying green peppers. Play with that when you're putting on your makeup. Play with that when you're getting out of bed. Play with it. The way you start to discover your reality and discover what's true for you, which is what's light for you, is you play with it. You actually have to be willing to be a 2-year-old in this stuff and actually learn to walk and not just go, this doesn't work. I can't do this. I don't know my light and heavy. Like, you actually have to play with life like a 2-year-old would, and go, gosh, what does this muscle do? Wonder what this leg does. When I put it out here and I try to stand on it, boom, fell on your ass, right? They might cry for a second, but they get back up because they're walking, and they don't really have a point of view of how that shows up or how long it takes them. They're just going to walk. So the same is true of light and heavy. You just got to play with it with different things. And I play with it with the small stuff first because I do. And then I really play with it with like what seems more significant to me. I'll play with it. And I didn't want to play with it at first, because if I got light on something that I decided would be hard, then what was I going to do? God, fuck, it's hard, but it's light. Fuck, I was obligated now to choose it. But you're not obligated. You still have total choice. So just play with it and see what sense you get. And that's what's going to start to give you more information about what lightness is for you. All right. Crystal, my question. I see myself coming back to old actings, even pulling and potting and asking questions seems not really to take off. It's like an elastic band. Any awarenesses? Yeah. The only thing that can stop you is you. And I know that sounds overly simple and like, yeah, everybody says that, but it's just true. And so one of the things I talked about with a session the other day, where actually he asked pretty much the same thing. And I just asked him like, hey, what do you love about stopping you? You actually can't be stopped. You are so powerful that the only person that can stop you is you. That's what's true about you. It can feel like you can be stopped, you can feel stuck, but all of those are feelings, right? And we've got this big conversation going on in Access right now about feelings, that feelings are an invention. And they're one of the most brilliant inventions to either control people, other people, or control you and manipulate you into being less than you are. So even if you feel like it, you got to start calling yourself out on your feelings and go, hey, what's actually true here? What am I capable of that I haven't yet chosen? How do you stop the awareness of how much you already have stopped you from creating more? Yeah, Simran, I love actually what you wrote in. Simran wrote me a question in an email that I want to read to you. So it's like 2:30 in the morning where she is. So thank you for being live. So this is what Simran wrote. She's like, growing up, I never knew we were rich. It feels uncomfortable to be even saying rich, but I'm going to let it be. I never knew, and I was comfortable spending where I liked to, choosing what I wanted to, and knowing that I'm going to have the most beautiful, delicious life when I grow up. But recently, I learned we have money. That realization was combined with a recent government move here that basically rendered 80% of the country's money tenderless. It was called demonetization, and they announced that starting that 12 a.m. that day, our money couldn't be used anymore without an elaborate procedure of having to exchange notes. We were cashless for days. People were hungry. There was madness. It left me with a fear of losing money because I know I have it. I don't spend freely now. There's this uninvited guilt that has decided to stick around too. I've started my own venture in creating money in it. Right now, this feels hard. So yes, the awareness of how much I have has stopped me from creating more. And I'm really grateful for that conversation, because this is sort of it from the reverse of like, I'm so psychic. I pick up on everybody else's reality around me. And if I be all of me, I'm going to stand out so bad, people are going to hate me, revile me, want to steal from me, want to take from me. And so what you got to do with that, and I'm not going to do a lot of potting in this one. If you want more processing on all this stuff, I'm going to invite you to the 30 days. But you got to start to look at the fact that you're psychic. And when a whole country goes through a demonetization and 80% of the country, I think is what you said, is cashless, like the society is cashless, how psychic are you? And how much do you pick up on everything that's going on in your country? And this applies to Simran, and this applies to anybody who has a body. Like, I live in West Vancouver. West Vancouver is, in all of Vancouver, West Vancouver is judged to be where the people that have money live. And so I live in West Vancouver, so I'm judgeable now. How did I get so lucky? What's interesting about West Vancouver is that when you live here and you're psychic and you're willing to be aware, is that there's all of these energies up here of hoarding and lack in and amongst a community where supposedly we have money. even in this community with all of these big houses and rich, fancy cars, there is so much lack. And when I first moved up here into this part of the city, like for 3 months, I was fucked up. Like I felt fucked up, and we didn't have the feelings conversation at the time, so I didn't have the tools I required to get out of it quite as fast. But I finally had an epiphany one day, and because it was getting annoying, I was really struggling with money, and I was like, what is going on? Like, whose reality am I in? Because I don't struggle with money. I mean, I have, but not really. Like, actually, my reality with money is fairly ease. And, like when I'm being me, money is ease. And so I finally was like, what is going on? And I realized like how psychic I was and how much I was picking up on everybody else's reality around here and making it mine and making it real. And the thing about us as infinite beings is that we are money. We are awareness, we are control, we are power, we are creativity. We may not be functioning like that. And that's where the practice comes in. But we are it. So if we're not being it, then who are we being? If you're being anything other than ease and joy and glory, anything other, you're not actually being you. That's crazy. Because how much of your time do you spend not being you? A little bit, or like 100,000% most of the time, right? And I can say that that's greatly decreased for me. Like I'm being me more and more percentage of the time. And you know how I know when I'm not being me is when things stop being ease, joy, and glory. Like when I start getting into shit or feelings or lack or need or any of the other stuff that feels so real, I don't buy it anymore because I've got enough information about what I truly be, about the energy that I am, about what I am in the world that actually gives me information about what's possible to choose beyond this moment right here where it seems like I'm in the shit. Now I've got like, no, this isn't mine. So I'm going to return this to sender with consciousness attached. And if I were truly being me here, what would I choose? And do you notice that in that energy, there's a potency and there's a demand that you show up for you? And so, Simran, I don't know what that looks like in your life. And no, I don't know what this looks like for any of you in your life. It doesn't look like any one thing, but it's a state of being. It's a being in the world that goes, okay, so my country is here. I chose to live here. I also chose a family where I had money and have money and still have money. So now I get to choose what I do with that. I get to choose what kind of reality I create. Interestingly enough, I have money in a society where all money has been devalued. I wonder what's possible for me to create here that I've never considered. I wonder what invitation that I am to a totally different reality that I've never even asked to perceive or know or be or receive. And I wonder what would change in the world if I were willing to perceive and know and be and receive the different possibility that I am right now with total ease. And that's what begins to open up this universe of awareness that you've just never even asked for. And that sort of transitions into another thing that I wanted to talk about today, which is that you're only going to receive awareness for the questions you're asking. And I mean actual questions. So you can say, I took an acting class once upon a time. I was an actor. I had an agent, actually. I got a real acting job. I was super famous. I wasn't that famous, but I did get on TV a couple of times. And so to be better at that, I took some acting classes. And my point is leaving my head. Acting classes. Oh, yes, I remember. So I took this improvisational class with Second City in Toronto, and they're this like famous improv group, like second only to Saturday Night Live. Second City is like all these famous people came out of Second City, like Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, and so this is really famous improv school. And one of the simplest exercises that they had us do was they had us say the phrase, "I love you," in like 1,800 different ways. I love you. I love you. Yeah, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. That's only 6. But do you see how in each one of those, the words are the same? And the energy and what I'm actually saying is completely different. The same goes for what else is possible. What else is possible? what else is possible here that I haven't actually considered? What else is possible? What else is possible? What else is possible? So what energy is it that could invite what you're actually asking for? What else is possible here that I haven't considered? What are the infinite possibilities that I've never thought of, never even considered to choose? Like, what are the infinite possibilities? Show me, right? Like this, the questions that you ask are going to invite what shows up in your world. And that's like an actual question. The question is like, it has an energy of like opening to receiving that information. You actually want to know what else is possible. You actually want to know, if I were being a millionaire right now, what would I choose? If I had all the money in the world right now, what would I choose? What would I be aware of? You actually want to know. There is an actual question there. And an actual question is a choice. That's actually, it's funny. It's a question and a choice right in the same thing. You're choosing to know what you know. You're choosing to receive. You're choosing to be. You're choosing to perceive. There's a choice in that question of like, yeah, show me. I'm actually willing to receive and be and know and perceive. And so with those questions, stuff can show up because there's a choice in there. There's an actual question. There's a willingness to receive. And it's the same when you're with a lover. You know, if you can't actually receive what he or she is being for you, you know, then everything they're being for you rolls right off your back. You can't actually change your world in a dynamic way. You know, your lover can make you a cup of coffee in the morning and you can receive it as a massive gift, or it can just be the thing that he does every morning. Yeah, thanks. Could you put more sugar in it next time? Or it can be, thank you. I don't have to make coffee for myself in the morning. And do you know how much time that saves me? Holy fuck, I get to spend 10 extra minutes on my makeup that was probably perfect in the first place, but I just love being in the mirror. Do you know how much more beautiful you're making my life right now? Like that energy is like total receiving of everything that moment is. And so the same is true of question, and the same is true of choice of like, I'm changing this. All your barriers are down, and now you're willing to receive the contribution, the awareness, the support of the universe, the support of whoever else wants to support you right now with total ease. And so then you just keep choosing and creating your day from that space. And what starts to show up is miraculous. Because now the quantum entanglements are like, oh my God, we have a job. Like she's choosing, like we've got a job. We can, this guy, he's walking down the street right there. Just make him turn a little bit and walk in her direction. They can have this conversation. And I wonder, they had the conversation. I wonder let's let this show up now. And there's this configuration of possibilities as occurs with every choice you make. And those choices begin to create your future. And the choice to practice consciousness, which is awareness, which is being willing to be aware of every single little thing so that you can actually choose, creates what shows up. I choose to be $1 million jackpot winner. I choose to do it quick. Cool. Did you have to do more to create more? Well, that's a great question. Did you have to do more to create more? Nope. I've actually had to do less. There's a really, I love, I went to Bible school when I was 25. I'm 42 this year. Almost 20 years ago. Anyway, the guy that ran my Bible school was this old hippie guy who used to do a lot of drugs and, and he's Christian, but he also studied like Taoism and Eastern mythology and Chinese medicine. And so he was really interesting. And he always used to tell us that the truth was always paradoxical. It always lay between two different points. And I would probably make that simpler and say what's light for you is true for you. But this always comes back to me, like this question of did you have to do more to create more is a very linear question, actually. Because there is this point of view that if to have more money, you have to do more, right? Like, of course, you have to work harder. That's a very popular point of view. But the paradox is that that's not true. that you actually have to do less and be more. Now, what's interesting about this is when you be more, you naturally sort of do more, but differently and not linearly, and not to create a certain result, but mostly because you just like being alive and you really like working until you don't and you take a break. So there's no right answer to that question, because yes is the answer and no is also the answer. So the question is, what can I be or do different to have a totally different reality with total ease? I'm glad you like it. Cool, yay, awesome. I'm sorry, I was scrolling up and now I'm like scrolling back down. So, oh yeah, I can see you. I just asked mine, yeah. How do I create 3,000 plus to attend SOP? So what money can you begin to ask for, and what can you demand of yourself that it show up? What can I do or be to have this money with total ease? What can I put out in the world? What can I create? What can I generate? What am I capable of that I haven't yet chosen? What choices do I have available to me? What's it going to take for this to show up? What's it going to take for me to show up for me? If you're willing to show up for you on your behalf and you're willing to do anything to have what you desire, the universe will back you completely. And it will be easier and faster than you ever imagined. But you've got to be the one first that's in your court 100%. Like, yeah, I got this. I don't care what I have to do. I'll go wait tables. I'll do blowjobs. I'll wash cars. I'll wash the sides of houses. I don't care what it takes. I'm going. I'm having this. And that energy, that willingness, and your subsequent actions that come out of that show up in the way they show up for you actually creates what you desire. And what's interesting about that energy is that's you committing to you. You know, we talk a lot in Access about you committing to your life. That's you committing to your life, going, we got this. I'm not letting me go on this one. I'm not letting this go. I'm having this. And I don't care how long it takes for it to show up or what I have to do or be, is showing up. And what you got to start to look at is it's that energy that got you here. It's that energy that's created the magic that you are currently living in and having as your life. And it can be magic that you think shouldn't be, but is, or it can be magic that you're super grateful for. But that's what's created you here, is that level of tenacity. You guys wouldn't be here on this thing if you didn't have a level of tenacity and courage that most people on the planet don't have. So that same tenacity and courage can get you anywhere else that you want to go, because that's what's got you here. So it's literally just going, cool, what's it going to take? I'm willing to do it. And I'll tell the story again in a different way. Like in February, I was cash poor, and we're talking like 4 months ago, living in a big house in Vancouver, cash poor. Woke up one day and I was like, all of this is changing right now. I'm so bored with myself. I'm so bored with being pathetic. I'm bored with not using all of my capacities. I didn't use all these words, but this was the energy of like, I'm so bored. Like, laying around being pathetic is like so fucking time consuming and it takes so much energy. And I'm like, I'm just bored with me. So I don't care what I have to, I had done this thing in my world where I was like too good for stuff. Like I was too good to do website stuff, and I was too good to do graphics, and I was too good to wash houses, and I was too good for everything. And guess what that did to my money? Like, my checking account became a contracted asshole and all the money disappeared inside, right? So I woke up that morning and I was like, I don't care if Carlina and Torsten, my roommates, have to pay me to clean my house. I don't care if I have to go get another job waiting tables. I don't care if I have to do Facebook Lives about the fact that I'm waiting tables now. I don't care what the fuck I have to do. I am changing this shit today. And that was the day that I found a loan on a car. Like I found somebody that would finance me on a car, and I created the Mercedes. And that was the day that I created like 3 other side jobs, creating landing pages and stuff for other facilitators that I was apparently too good to do. That was the day that everything shifted. And in the interim, I did a couple of things that I wasn't a huge fan of. Like I love doing websites, it's fine, but it's not where I want to spend the most of my time. It's not my total joy. I can do it. I have the capacity to do it. And when I do it, I do a good job. So I did a few things that I wasn't like super keen on, but that energy that I was willing to be for myself is what totally changed everything. Because that energy was like, I remember when Julia's energy pulls came out, I'm like, I'm having that. Like that energy is what led me to things that actually created that. And then the choice to do my own, which totally radically changed my whole life and everybody else's that played. And so that energy is actually what changed everything, not the choice to go do landing pages, even though that was cool too, because I got paid. And I did stuff that I could do from home. I didn't have to go out and wait tables. I actually got to work from home and contribute to some amazing facilitators. And after that, I had that energy. I don't even remember what I created after that, something. Anyway, we're here now, and totally different, and money. So that is the how, and it shows up the way it shows up for you, but that energy of being that for you is how you create anything. There's a fear attached to actually committing to my life, or could it be excitement? How do I know what next? Maybe I use the 5 question. Yeah. How do I know what's next? And maybe I use the 5-year question in play. Yes, you do. You have to be willing to play. I have played with every single facet of my life. I realize now, maybe that's my strongness, is I am willing to fucking play, and I play balls out. Like, I kind of play at life the same way that I play, or that I swim in a swimming pool. It's like, if I see a swimming pool, I have to dive in, because that's how I'm going to know if it's too cold. Because if I just dip my foot in, I'm going to decide it's too cold, and then I'm not going to want to do it, and then I'm going to psych myself out, and then it gets into this whole mental game. I have to just dive in. And that capacity for choice has created a lot of awareness. Sometimes I'm like, I probably wouldn't choose that again. Actually, probably more times than not, I probably wouldn't choose that again. And other times it has created my life just going in miraculous ways. And so for those of you that have been around from the beginning of my journey, you might have noticed that. And it's not limited to me. I mean, I may be an oddball in that I'm willing to live that way. And you have the same possibility available to you. What choices do you have available to you that you can play with and get awareness from, that will give you information about what you can choose next? And fear is a distractor. It's not actually real for an infinite being. So just pock and paw the distractor implants underneath it and keep choosing. Can you talk about receiving all judgments with total ease? I love this topic. This is actually, receiving all judgment is like my favorite topic of all time now, because it was like something I was so terrified of, and now I'm like super good at it, because I just put down my barriers and I'm like, judge me, bitches. It's not quite like that. I love judgment. Oh, judgment. We make you so real. We make you so vital. You are so vital. Especially when you come in the form of my mother or my sister or my friend that says she cares about me but just judges the shit out of me. Or these random girls over there that just think I'm too good looking and are going to hate me for it. Like, you're so vital to my reality, judgment. That's what we do. We make it real. We make it significant. We make it like it means something. Like, people that are judging you means there's something wrong with you, instead of it meaning they're assholes. Like, it must mean something about me. And this morning in the energy pool, I talked about how when we make something vital to our reality, which most of us have made judgment vital to our reality, it's like the thing that we use to know if we're doing wrong or right, or to make a different choice, or to change our body. Like, who would we even be without judgment? What would we actually have available to us if we didn't judge ourselves? Judgment is like the most vital, valuable product in our realities. But it doesn't have to be. And so receiving all judgment is as simple as like putting down all your barriers and receiving whatever they're being. And you might notice it doesn't kill you. And Gary says if you're willing to receive judgment, you get $5,000 more that year. So it also makes you richer. And I've got a few videos on my Facebook page if you guys want to go traipse through the videos on my Facebook page about judgment. I did a recent one about some girls in my bars class that were super judgmental. And it was this moment where I realized I had a choice. That they were in my bars class paying me money to facilitate bars, and they were judging the shit out of me. And they were actually not even nice of it. Like, it wasn't even veiled. It was like really blatant judgment and control attempts. And I just sat in front of them and I was like, gosh, I have a choice here to be defensive, which means I'm aligning with their point of view if I'm being defensive. Or I can put down all my barriers and just be whatever is required and offer them their money back if they actually don't want to stay. But I was never so aware of the choice that I had in that moment. And so I chose to put down all my barriers and just go, hey, what choices do I have here that I've never considered? And it totally changed the energy. and I lived. And so judgment is only as vital and as real as you make it. And again, I'm going to go back to you're the only one that can stop you. So what do you love about stopping you with judgment? Cool. I stopped in my car at a zebra crossing to let a man cross the street. When he was in front of me, he spit in front of me while looking at me. I laughed and thought 5,000 euros more in my purse. I know, people are crazy. How do we get those embedded judgments out of our body and get them to flow away? We just keep coming back and keep choosing. I mean, you know, this whole thing about practicing a new way of consciousness, like actually practicing being different in the world, is a practice. Like, I really do. I love the analogy of a 2-year-old learning to walk. And then I'll wrap this up, you guys, because, you know, you just keep showing up. You keep standing back up. You keep using a tool. You keep pock and potting the refined judgments. You keep pock and potting, you know, everything you aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to. And you don't wait to create your life before you've pock and potted enough shit, because you'll never get there. There's no there where you've pock and potted enough stuff. Pock and potting changes the past. You and your choices create the future. You don't have to pock and pod the past to create the future. It does make it easier, and that's why we have the tools to do it. But you literally just keep choosing forward. And so keep choosing the things that are light. Because you know, time's not real. You're an infinite being. Time is not real. There isn't any actual past, present, and future. It's just words we've used to make up, to sort of give ourselves a sense of an understanding of this moment. So if time is not real, you have already been, will be, have been. So you've left this breadcrumb trail for yourself. You already know. You already know what it's going to take to lead yourself to money. You already know what it's going to take to create what you want to create in the world. You know. You may not be letting yourself know. You may not be acknowledging that you know. You may not be choosing to know, but you know. And so you keep choosing. And then if stuff comes up to stop you, you choose again. You either choose to be stopped by the judgment you're aware of, or you choose to pock and pot it and keep choosing. And you just keep choosing, and you keep choosing. And you keep showing up for you. It'd be as if, you know, if you weren't you, if you were like your friend, you being with you, would you abandon your friend the moment she chose something where you guys got the awareness where that was like, well, that didn't create what I want? Would you be out of there? Be like, ah, fuck off. You're useless. You're useless tit on a bull. I'm out of here, you fucker. Or would you be like, let's just make another choice, right? You wouldn't do that to your friend, but you do that to you all the time. So what can you be for you? What choices can you make that would support a totally different practice in your world? We're really practiced at judging ourselves. Have you noticed that? You're really good at it. You could do a class. You could probably charge money. People would show up. How to judge yourself with ease. If I see a bunch of banners and a bunch of PayPal links after this, I'm going to know you got the idea from me. I'm charging a percentage. How to judge yourself with ease. How to fuck yourself over in 2.5 seconds or less. I got that nailed. Right? You're good at it. Now, what's it going to take to be good at something else? What's it going to take to practice and choose something else? A different way of being with money that actually creates money and creates it in a different way and creates it from a different space. And we'll leave you with this question, and then I'm going to give you your special code for being here live. Gary did a marketing call the other day for all of the Access staff, and one of the questions he gave us that is just fucking changing everything, and thank you for the love, ditto, is how can I be the bioenergetic feeding that nurtures people into a different reality? How can I be the bioenergetic feeding that nurtures people into a different reality? Now, I love so many things about this question. One of the things I love about this question is it's a money question. But you know what it does? It totally ignores the fact that you think you have problems. It doesn't even address all the shit you think you have to deal with. It's just like, how can I be the bioenergetic feeding that nurtures people into a different reality? And you're looking at this question, you're going, but what about but that thing over what? And it's just this like, but I like where you're going. It's just like this, this tug into something totally other. That is creating a totally different reality for you. And that, you're just gonna leave your problems behind and start creating something totally different. And guess what? Money's gonna show up, because that's what money does. Money follows joy. Yeah, bioenergetic feeding. Money follows joy. So as you're joying around the planet, enjoying your life, you become irresistible to money. It's crazy. But you have to practice that. You have to practice. So I'm going to wrap that up, and I'm going to stop the recording. So thank you for joining me live. Don't leave yet, all of you guys. I'm just going to stop the recording, and I'm going to give you